Welcome to Inside Games, the only gaming news show brave enough to somehow avoid laying anyone off post-2020.
Ooh, yeah, about that, Bruce. Turns out I've been taking executive lessons from Bungie. You can see me in this laptop. I'm traipsing all over the world, taking these expensive vacations, and turns out I just developed a taste for expensive classic cars. Also, I did promise YouTube that every video we'd make from now on would get 1 million views.
But hold on, you're a laptop, Lawrence. You can't even drive. I don't know how's that going to work.
Because this is capitalism, Bruce. Logic doesn't apply. That's why, with a heavy heart and a very full bank account, I have to announce that Brian will be let go as part of a new path for Inside Games.
If you just bought a 69 Mustang 5 minutes ago, we got beef. Not cool.
Oh, man. Yes, folks, it's another week in gaming, which means another studio with a recent successful release is undergoing massive layoffs. That's right. That's what, for some reason, they do. This time, it's Bungie again.
Yeah, and it's not just Bungie, although it is mostly Bungie at the moment. We've also got news of business drying up for Apex Legends, for Nintendo, and a beloved developer from the 2000s. The video game well is drier than Ben Shapiro's wife, all on this Inside Games Roundup.
Let's kick things off by throwing to the Inside Games staff member that works the hardest and therefore will be the very first to be laid off. That's right, it's Brian Gaar. You're officially fired, but also please tell us about Bungie.
That's the story of my journalism and Rooster Teeth career, so this is awesome. So it is all Bungie is the big news this week. They sent shockwaves through the industry when they announced hundreds of layoffs, a big deal to say the least. So yeah, this week they announced they're making deep cuts to their operations. 220 staffers laid off. That's about 17% of the entire studio. So we're cutting bone. Meanwhile, 155 more employees will be integrated into Sony Interactive Entertainment. So this is massive.
Yeah, massive is a good word for it. In a post called The New Path for Bungie, CEO Pete Parsons wrote that due to the rising costs of development and industry shifts, as well as enduring economic conditions, it has become clear that we need to make substantial changes to our cost structure and focus development efforts entirely on Destiny and Marathon. He added that the layoffs will affect every level of the company, including most of our executive and senior leader roles.
The post lays out a narrative in which Bungie scaled up too fast in an attempt to ship games in 3 enduring global franchises. This led to a hiring surge and dividing their current staff into smaller incubation teams that, quote, stretched our talent too thin too quickly.
Yeah, and apparently this has been in the work for months now. The veteran gaming journalist Stephen Totillo wrote in his GameFile newsletter that the cuts had been planned earlier this year, and that was before the Final Shape expansion came out. So basically, no matter how well that did, that wasn't going to change things.
Yeah, the pace of business is a lot slower than we tend to think it is on the consumer side of things. We like to think that if a company gets a surge of money, then suddenly that'll change its trajectory. But if they've been burning too much money for too long, which it sounds like they were, it's just too late to change where that ship is headed. Sucks. Speaking of drama, it turns out that this story is even worse than we thought, because it sounds like Bungie was in worse financial shape than previously reported.
Yeah, Totillo wrote that Bungie had been losing money since the release of the Lightfall expansion in early 2023. And has repeatedly missed financial targets, which I think most people had seen or at least speculated on.
And then here's another bomb. Sources told Totillo that Bungie was in such bad shape, they were facing insolvency before Sony bought them for that big $3.6 billion purchase in 2022.
I hate this so much. I've got a rant about this, but I'm going to try to save it. I'm going to hold on to it for a little bit. One source told Totillo, I think Sony overpaid for Bungie. I think Bungie sold things they were just not able to deliver.
Bungie also scrapped development of Payback, which was a new project set in the Destiny universe. The Bungie senior execs overseeing Payback, Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy, were actually among those let go.
Yeah, industry insider Jeff Grubb shared more details about the layoffs, claiming that these events, basically, they're signaling a complete PlayStation takeover of Bungie, despite what they had said previously. Grubb said that the process has begun for Bungie to lose its autonomy and, quote, become like any other PlayStation Worldwide studio under SIE and Herman Hulst.
Well, I mean, their autonomy led to them going almost bankrupt twice in a row. So maybe, sorry, I said I would hang on to it.
Yeah.
I said I'd hang on to it. Okay. There are a lot of hard feelings, more than just my own, following this announcement. Multiple Bungie employees took to social media to denounce Parsons' leadership.
We should also note that Pete Parsons has come under fire for buying millions of dollars in classic cars and continuing to do so even after layoffs were happening at Bungie. This is the worst part of the story by far.
Just the optics are so bad.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, former community manager Leanna Rupert she did not hold back, calling Parsons a liar and a thief, adding, "This isn't on Sony, this is squarely on the failure of leadership. Plain and simple."
I agree. For once, it's actually pretty transparent. Griffin Bennett, a former Destiny community manager, wrote, "Poor leadership has crushed one of the greatest developers of all time. Retire, Pete."
This is a second big round of layoffs at Bungie. The studio axed 100 employees in November of 2023 after missing financial targets, and we reported on that as well.
Okay, I held it back. I can't anymore. I don't know. Brian, you mentioned Rooster Teeth. We've all worked for media companies that have been rewarded by luck with lots of money. And then it's just aggravating to see the same cycles repeat, and the people who spend money improperly get rewarded with more money and then just climb out the bathroom window when all the money dries up and take all their money with them. I don't know. It's easy to blame management in these situations, but this is so obvious from what we see, which isn't everything, but still. The fact that Bungie was almost bust before they got acquired means that their management wasn't great. Their business management wasn't great. They oversold themselves, got acquired for an inflated price, burned through all that money with the same bad management, and now they're right back where they started because they overhired and sold on false promises. So it's just a series of bad managements that are pretty obvious to anybody watching. And it's just aggravating how people like Pete Parsons can buy tens of millions of dollars of classic cars and face no real world consequence. I mean, what is it? Just a bunch of people kind of like booing and hissing on Twitter? That's what it amounts to? I don't know. It's frustrating. It's aggravating. I've seen it a lot in my life, and I have a massive chip on my shoulder for this exact thing. Executives that just fail upward, they're good at selling a lie, and that's basically their entire careers. So I don't know. I'm grumpy. I'm mega grumpy about this. Everyone was all up on Bungie when they got acquired. They went through a hiring surge, man. They brought on hundreds of people in under a year, and that's never a good sign either. But I guess people haven't developed that particular scent of cynicism. But I knew that this wasn't going to go well. It's not the right, I'm not saying I told you so or anything like that. It's just these are the unfortunate cycles that I've seen a lot of these companies go through, and there's really no accountability. Aside from some dude who made a series of terrible calls walking away with tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, I feel like it's borderline sociopathic to buy $1 million toys for yourself when people are losing their jobs. Like, I just do. Like, say what you will about Nintendo, but like when the Wii U flopped, their CEO took $1 salary just to kind of, at least the optics are like, yes, I'm going to take a personal hit. And yeah, it just sucks. It blows. It happens all the time. I think you have this whole upper class of executives whose only talent are going to meetings with other executives while people on the bottom do all the work and take all the brunt and are the first to let go. And it just blows. And this is just the world we live in, and it sucks.
It's something that I figured out a long, long time ago, long before Rooster Teeth or Machinima or any of that stuff that I worked at, is when you get to the top of the top, the C-suite, they start literally only thinking of themselves. Now, I know it sounds ridiculous, it's obvious, but it's absolutely true. And they know that, like Lawrence said, if they fail upward or if they get fired or whatever, it doesn't matter because they've got, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars that they can then reinvest, do whatever they want with it, or just use the experience they have and move on to another company, get hired as another C-suite employee. And it's weird to think about because there aren't many people like Brian just talked about. I think it was Iwata that ended up taking a $1 salary, and there are not many people like that. So if you notice those people in business, angle to work for those companies because that's very, very important. Most companies are not like that, and Bungie is just one of the hundreds that is fucking it up real bad.
Yeah, they're bowling with the bumpers on, and the rest of us are bowling, and if we go into the gutter once, it's like a lifetime of poverty. It sucks.
Yeah, I'm sure Parsons will go on to be an executive at an AI company or a crypto company, one of those things. He'll get an equally large salary, and yeah, I agree, Bruce. If you see a company like Nintendo, I think Capcom, Konami, these are both companies that recently just blanket raised the salaries of all of their employees because they were doing well. Ironically, you probably won't find a lot of American companies doing that. But if you want to be an activist consumer, do look out for those headlines and please reward those companies with your business. Speaking of, Capcom just released Kunitsugami. It's really, really good. I don't think anyone cares or is paying attention to it, so maybe cast an eye in that direction. Anyway.
All right, let's move on to more news that's kind of a bummer. Apex Legends hits lowest player count in years.
Yeah, things continue to get worse for Apex. You might remember there's been some bad news swirling around. Respawn came under fire after they tried to make changes to the game's battle pass, and fans absolutely hated it.
And now the game's player count is falling off. The game on Steam recently hit a player peak of just over 238,000 players, which sounds big, but it is the game's lowest level in 3 years.
Wow, some of that can probably be traced back to frustrations with the game's battle pass changes, where Respawn initially said that players would have to spend real-world money on the upcoming new season's battle passes, not to mention they're split into two.
Right. There's two of them. That's why it's plural at the end.
Yeah.
And people were mad. Respawn eventually backed down somewhat, but not completely. It looks like damage was done. On the plus side for Apex, their new season launches next week, so probably see a surge in interest, but overall the trend not looking good lately.
Yeah, we've seen it time and time again. No matter how dire things look for an ongoing service game, as long as there's content updates and those updates are good, people come back. So I guess we'll see. Hey, speaking of updates and walking through a long desert with nothing new, Nintendo's profits are dropping off a cliff as the Switch is it's just grasping onto life at this point.
Yeah, the new Switch cannot get here soon enough. I'm actually surprised that they waited so long. Nintendo reported that its profits are down significantly as the console reaches the end of its life cycle by probably a year, maybe over.
Yeah, it's Joe Biden at the debate at this point. For the first quarter, Nintendo said its net profit was $542.9 million. That was down more than 55% from the previous year, which is a lot.
That's still $500 million in profit, though. That's not bad, but yeah, trends aren't great. And in fairness, this quarter was slow in terms of new releases compared to last year. That's when we got Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, probably the crown of the Switch's longevity.
And Nintendo added that the Switch's lifetime sales are now over 143 million, putting it up there with the best-selling consoles of all time.
Yeah, I think it just needs another 10 plus million and it can pass the PlayStation 2. But yes, the Switch is also more than 7 years old, and company officials have said we'll get an announcement on its successor sometime before March of next year.
Yeah, sales were pretty slow, but then again, like we said, Nintendo didn't really launch anything. We have to assume that they have some software lined up for this fall, because otherwise they wouldn't have waited past this fall to launch the Switch sequel, I hope. So any day now, we probably should be getting a Nintendo Direct announcing their fall lineup. Who knows how crammed it'll be with remakes and remasters, but that's just kind of where we're at right now, and people still seem to enjoy them. So I guess we'll see. Oh wait, what do they have? They have like Mario and Luigi.
Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D, the remake, but that's a multi-plat, but they seem to have gotten some sort of marketing exclusive on it, because I will love that, but yeah, I don't see, there's nothing like Tears of the Kingdom coming out this year.
No, not at all. All right, let's move on to more really sad news, as usual. Braid Anniversary Edition was a dud, and the studio that made it might not survive.
I love this game. We're talking about the time-manipulating puzzle platformer Braid. Huge hit when it released in the late 2000s, and really, along with games like Super Meat Boy, Fez, Cave Story, really helped push indie games to the mainstream, particularly on console.
Those halcyon days, the summer of arcade. I remember them well. It's been a long time in Spelunky. But yeah, so it seemed like a no-brainer to release an anniversary edition earlier this year, featuring new levels, commentary, overhauled visuals, and remixed sound.
But apparently fans were not in the mood because the game's creator said the anniversary edition sold like dog shit.
In a series of streams, Jonathan Blow talked about the anniversary edition's disappointing sales and how they put the company at risk. So that is not good. In June, he said the anniversary edition, quote, has sold like dog shit compared to what we need to make for the company to survive. Not good.
But it still has sold like dog shit compared to what we need to make for the company to survive.
Yeah, he added that the future is uncertain, which some Chuck's Blow's company, Thekla Incorporated, also made the very well-received 2016 game The Witness, but they haven't really launched anything since then, so no wonder they're a little hurting for revenue.
Speaking of, again, more sad news that is literally just breaking as we are recording this, Game Informer is also shutting down. They just started sending out tweets, and I've seen lots of farewells and goodbyes.
Yeah, it's the end of an era. GameStop has operated the magazine for a long time. I remember hawking it when I was a little register biscuit at my local GameStop. It's been a staple and one of the last physical publications in games media, so it's just part of a trend. I don't think anybody thought maybe Game Informer was going to last forever. But yeah, they had a pretty big departure of long talent there. I remember Andy McNamara was editor-in-chief there for decades. And I think he's at EA now. But yeah, when he left, it was just kind of the end of an era. You could tell that they weren't investing in it anymore, and it was just kind of on life support. So still a tragedy to lose fellow compatriots in games media.
And 33 years in video games is a long time. R.I.P. print media. All right, let's do a 5-second review. This is Steam World Heist 2. I love Steam World. I'm gonna love this game. But for the love of God, make Steam World Dig 3. That's what we all want. Not a heist. We want to dig. Not heist dig. Okay, maybe just me.
I don't even know what he's talking about.
Gamers love digging.
I guess they love digging, I guess. I don't know. Let's move on to the video games coming out this week. Up first, Pepper Grinder. Pepper Grinder is an action-packed 2D adventure blending traditional platforming with an alternate drilling mode that allows you to dive in and out of the earth like a dolphin swims through water. It comes out on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S on August 6th.
Creatures of Ava. Let your empathy guide you as you play on an exciting action-adventure creature saver game. Understand and tame the creatures of Ava and let them lead you through a variety of ecosystems, all in the hopes of saving the planet from a life-consuming infection. Comes to PC and Xbox Series X on August the 7th.
Next, we got Cat Quest 3. This game looks perfect. In Cat Quest 3, you'll play a privateer in a freely explorable 2.5D open world swarming with pirates. You can sail the seas in your ship for treasures galore, but prepare for peril as the Pirate King aims to hunt you down. Cat Quest 3 comes to practically everything. PC, PS4, PS5, Switch, Xbox One, and Xbox Series on August 8th.
Up next, the video game that Brian hates, SteamWorld Heist 2. Join Captain Leeway and his ragtag crew as they uncover the enigmatic menace threatening the Great Sea. Equip and upgrade your crew for turn-based gunfights packed with ricochet action and engage in real-time naval combat. Get ready to aim, plot, and plunder in this uproarious Steambot adventure. It comes to every single platform on August 8th.
And last but not least, The Crush House. Film and produced 1999's hottest reality TV show, The Crush House. Select a crush-worthy cast, satisfy voracious audiences, and keep the show on the air to uncover the sinister secrets behind this darkly comic thirst-person shooter. I thought this was a porn game at first, but Devolver is publishing it, so it seems legit.
Yeah.
Comes to PC August 9th.
Such a good concept for a game. I can't wait to play that.
Same.
And that'll about do it for this week's Inside Games Roundup. At the end here, we'd like to thank some patrons that empower our whole production. Certainly, this week's wave of headlines has us more appreciative than ever that there are some gracious viewers out there that feel like funding our productions directly. Because of that, I have some patrons that I'd like to pay special thanks to that, unlike Brian, we will never ever lay off. We got Pablo Garcia, Christian Morgan Anderson, Mason Hoover, and Kyle Heaton. Thank you so much.
I've actually got some Inside Games patrons that can't be laid off because they're being forced into retirement. It's actually totally different. I don't know if you guys know that. I sound like Pete Parsons, don't I? Brian Cosner, Crab Foam, Monkey Butlers, and Nightboard. Thank you very much for all the support.
Get this man an Aston Martin convertible right now.